Hey guys, what's up? This is Robby Roland, and you're listening to another episode of the Robby Row Show. What's up, guys? It's your host, Robby Roland, on the Robby Row Show, episode 2. I'm going to have my first ever guest on my podcast today. His name is Paco Rodriguez. We'll get him on here to pronounce that name a little bit better, since I'm white and a gringo and can't say anything with an accent. But today's podcast is just going to consist of good conversation, ask him a few questions, and just have fun with it. I apologize ahead of time for my voice in particular. It's definitely lost. In short, we won the Puerto Rican Winter League Championships last night, and to say the least, it was pretty loud. So we're gonna grind through this podcast. Hope you all enjoy. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Boom.
Okay, what's up? All right, we're here with Paco Rodriguez. Paco, say hi.
What's up, people? How we doing?
Okay, so can you pronounce your name in a non-gringo fashion for me?
Steven Paco Rodriguez at his finest.
So your first name isn't Paco?
No, it's not Paco. My nickname came from my sister giving it to me before I was born, and it kind of stuck with me my whole life. And it started off as Paquito, and then Paco became the bigger boy nickname, and it's been with me my whole life. So
what does Paquito mean?
It's just a name that she came up with. It was something when she was 2.5 at the time, and it was just a name that she came up with, and it just stuck. My whole family was like, all right, we'll give you that nickname, and that's just the nickname that has been with me my whole life.
Sweet, man. Hey, so just real quick, just let's give our listeners kind of the full, you don't have to go into like full detail, but you're obviously a baseball player. So let's take us on the trip, starting all the way back. Like, where does your love for baseball kind of stem from, and what age did you really fall in love with it?
I think I was probably 2 years old as I started just going with my dad to softball Sundays. All his friends would go out and play in the league, and then we would barbecue after, and it was just something that we did every Sunday, and that was my favorite thing to do. There was not one day that came by that I didn't want that to happen, and I enjoyed it because I got to be with my dad and play ball and just start falling in love with the game, and I think that's where it all begun.
Nice, dude. So obviously that took you onto a path of professional baseball and a very successful career thus far. So let's talk about you went to the University of Florida. And you were there for 3 years, very successful collegiate career. Talk about your experience, kind of your recruiting process there, and then if you want to talk a little bit about just the actual experience of being a Florida Gator.
So my recruiting process, started off as going into my junior year. I didn't really have a lot of offers, but I did have some interest with some smaller D1 schools, and out of nowhere, Sully came out to one of my games.
That's the manager?
Yeah, that's the head coach at the University of Florida. Came out, watched me pitch. I might have gone 5 innings, I think, that game. Didn't actually pitch that well. I, gave up a few runs, and just one of my poor performances. But what he liked was the fact that I competed. He said, he was like, man, you grinded through it. You didn't have your best stuff, but you kept battling, and I kept myself in the game. So I think that was something that he took out of that outing that he liked, and that's when the whole thing started. I got an offer from the University of Miami. Actually,
that's where you're from, right?
Yeah, I'm from Miami originally, so that was everybody wanted me to go to the U, and I went on my recruit trip. My recruit trip felt like I wasn't, really wanted. I just felt like I was just another guy coming into the office and, having a conversation with me and letting me know that, they wanted to offer me. And at the time they offered me 50%, and I was like, going to a private school, I'm going to be paying $25,000 to go to school. So I gave it a thought. I told him I'd let him know. And then Sully, right after that, came at me and told me that he wanted me to come up and just check out the school. Kind of get to know the program a little bit. And I think once I made that trip and saw what type of coaches and what type of human beings those guys were, they really wanted to better you as an individual. And I think that was what I took out of that trip. That they were very in tune to what they wanted me to become, and it just felt like home. Honestly, I felt super comfortable there. And after that, I made the decision to committed, and went back home. Then the University of Miami came back at me, and they were like, "Oh, we want to offer you 100% and the whole gig." And I finally gave it a few days, and I just realized that I wanted to go to Florida.
Dude, that's funny you mentioned the thing about like being wanted, because I kind of had a similar story with colleges in my recruiting experience, and there's no better feeling than like that being wanted. Obviously they use such a big baseball program, and it's easy to get distracted by the flashiness of that, and obviously the Gators isn't. It's not flashy, so you had two good options there. So talk about, was it more of a stressful kind of situation for you, or were you just like, look, I don't really have a bad option here, and kind of like took that approach, or what was kind of going through your mind during the actual process of figuring out where you wanted to go?
Well, I think it was honestly pretty stressful, because my whole family's it was always been about the U and going to the University of Miami, so it was very stressful in that aspect, because everybody was guiding me in the direction of staying home and playing at home, and staying in my comfort zone. And I've always been the type of person that wants to better myself as a human being. And I think when I went to the University of Florida and had my visit, it was I felt like I could grow from this place and become a better person on and off the field. And that was my biggest thing, was getting away from home, being away from my mom, and I have to, just kind of be on my own for the first time in my life. So, once I made that decision, I disappointed a lot of people in my family, but at the end of the day, I wanted to do what was best for me, and I felt like that was a decision I needed to make to get away from home and try to grow up a little bit.
Yeah, it goes back to that conversation. Excuse my voice. It goes back to that conversation you and I had about the growing as an individual. You grow your most when you're, in a sense, like uncomfortable. And for you, that was kind of getting away from home, getting out of the house and experiencing that. But how far is Gainesville from like where your house was?
Yeah, it's 5 hours. It's not a long drive.
Yeah. So did you have like any like MLB scouts on you in high school?
I mean, I did get drafted by Houston in the 48th round, so it was, I had a few offers, but any scout that came up to me at the time was, I always told them I was going to go to school, man. I felt like I wasn't prepared at that time to be a professional. Yeah. I was still a kid, I was still growing up, and I just, I wanted to go experience something new, and at the same time be able to work on my baseball career. At that time I didn't know how good I was going to be. So it was for me to get better and get an education out of it.
Yeah. So this is interesting. This is kind of a big reason why I wanted to bring you on, was because you and I have like essentially two totally different paths, right? So I got drafted when I was 18, and my path into the scouting process was I knew I was going to get drafted and I knew I was going to sign. Yours obviously was like you were looking bigger picture, whereas I was kind of just like, look, I just want to play baseball for a living. So talk about maybe like any advice you would give for individuals who are kind of going through that same process, where they see only the small picture, right? They see like, okay, if I have this opportunity to get drafted and an opportunity to become safe financially for a short amount of time and play baseball every day, compared to the flip side of that coin, where, okay, maybe I can go to college for a minimum of 3, and then kind of essentially gamble on myself, right? If you're kind of in that situation prospect wise, what would you say to guys kind of going through that process?
I'm always going to recommend to go to school. I felt like not a lot of guys at the age of 18 get to experience something like college, where, like I said, you get to grow, you get to be around a group of guys that all got brought in for one purpose. And, that's to help you become a better human being on and off the field, better yourself, better your craft on the field. And then just understand what it takes to be a professional when it comes to the baseball aspect of it. And then at the same time, you have to create a routine. When you're in college, you have to wake up for morning workouts. You have to go to class. You have to get your study hall in. You have to have a routine and a structured lifestyle that really makes you a better person. And I think that was the biggest thing that I learned from going to college. Once I left college and got drafted or went to the pros, I felt like I was so prepared for what was, the professional side of baseball and understanding that you got up to play baseball and you wanted to better yourself. And I think as an 18-year-old, you don't understand that at the time. So I think that's something that I really took from college and always want to guide guys to go to school because of those reasons.
Yeah, so this is interesting. So in my first podcast, I talked about like my whole journey, right? And I talked about, and obviously I believe everything kind of happens for a reason, and you are who you are because of the experiences that you've been through. My experiences led, like I said, obviously I drafted out of high school. So what you're talking about here is like you were more well equipped when you did sign that professional contract. For me, coming from a small school and being 18 years old, signing a professional contract, going and competing against older people that were coming straight from college, right? I had to deal with that, finding a routine and finding how to grind through the life of it's just baseball, and then finding how to deal with the failures that it brought in, because, dude, we play a game that we're essentially going to fail a lot, right? So for me, being successful in high school and then going straight to the pros and actually failing, it was tough for me to like figure out like, okay, now what, right? I didn't have that backup plan. It's like, okay, I've dealt this before. This is what I do. This is what I fall back on. This is kind of like my anchor that's always going to like station me home. So, yeah, dude, I think that's great stuff. Segueing on, talking about that team kind of camaraderie that the collegiate game brings. You went to 3 College World Series?
Yes.
So that's pretty rare, dude. You're 3 for 3. Did you ever win it?
No, we lost the second time we went. We lost South Carolina in the finals.
What years? Sorry, what years?
I went from 2010 to 2012. I was, we went all 3 years to a College World Series.
And you graduated high school in 2009, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Dude, talk about, if you can, like that just experience of not only just playing college baseball, but playing it at the literal highest level in the College World Series. What is that experience like? And what is like? How do you train and how do you prepare for something of that magnitude?
I could honestly tell you, man, that I wasn't prepared that first go around.
Your freshman year?
My freshman year.
And are you like, so you're a reliever, and are you pitching a lot that freshman year?
I at the end of the year, I did have the 5th to 6th inning role.
Yeah.
By the end of the year, I was pitching very well, and that was I was just pitching out of adrenaline and letting my ability take over. I wasn't really understanding what I was trying to do on the field. I just shake yes and throw a pitch and not have to worry about anything else, and hopefully everything planned out to work for me. So it was. But I did have a really good role, and I think my freshman year going into a College World Series, being around 20 some thousand fans was the first time that I was a little in shock. I was intimidated by the surroundings of the game, and it really opened up my eyes, and I was in shock for those few days that we were there. We went 2-0, but I think that experience for me really helped me understand what it's like to be around the big crowd. So, the preparation aspect for my second and third year was a lot easier going into it, and playing in those big scenarios and understanding that you have thousands and thousands of people watching you as the pitcher. You're the one that's controlling the game at the end of the day. So it was that was the first time in my life that my eyes were opened up when I was on a baseball field.
Yeah, dude, and that and going back to this again is like, you grow the most from like uncomfortable situations.
and I'm a firm believer in that, especially in the baseball world, is like, I believe anytime you get in the game or anytime in a big situation, you have that sense of uncomfortable. Like that's gonna be given. Like there's no way you can kind of prepare for that on your own time, right? So for those that are listening, especially like we're trying to target the youth, right? And we're trying to breathe like knowledge into the youth. So for me, dude, it's about freaking those reps, you know, and we can talk all day long about the reps that you take when no one's watching, right? We can talk about you getting a towel and doing towel drills before practice or whatever, but in reality, dude, it's those reps that you can take in big situations, right? And that's why for you, dude, like you had so much or have so much success because it becomes natural, right? And it becomes motion memory of, okay, you're in a big situation, dude, and I've done this, right? We all watch guys on TV in the postseason that it's like Game 7 on the line, you got the ball, and it's like go get them, and then we all think about like, holy crap, like how that's freaking big time moments, and then you see big time production, you see that the people separating themselves from others. So yeah, dude, I think just getting reps in big situations. So, and then your sophomore year, you obviously get into, for lack of a better term, a more important role, and you have a really good sophomore year. So, what was your experience sophomore year compared to like your freshman year, having that experience already your freshman year?
The biggest thing was understanding that I started to understand that I could be pretty good at this. I think that was the first time in my life that I was like, I need to better myself, off the field in the sense of my eating habits, and I started really paying attention to my body for the first time. I was, that was just a part of a new aspect of preparation that really got me to get the most out of myself. And playing and being on the field, I always, I'm the type of guy that loves taking ground balls, taking fly balls, running around in the outfields.
I've noticed.
And it's something that, that I enjoy, but I feel like I started to take pride in not only on the field, but off the field as well. And I started understanding when it was right to go out and have a good time and make sure that I am prepared for that next day if we did have to go out and perform. I think, and that comes down to understanding yourself, understanding what type of person you want to become, and when you do that, it's only going to better yourself on the field. And that's when my sophomore year was my most successful college year, and I was dominant. I was dominant day in, day out, and I would take the ball every single time. And like you said, you put yourself in so many stressful situations that it just becomes a habit, and it becomes something that you strive off of, and you want to be the best during those moments, and that's something that I became really good at. And as my career went on, throughout my sophomore year, it only got better and better. And that was the year for me that I really realized that I could be really good at this.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy, man. So now we'll flash forward a little bit. So junior year, you're draft eligible. Kind of run me through the whole. Everyone wants to know about the draft process, right? And everyone has kind of a different story about their draft process. So you're a reliever, not to be disrespectful, but relievers aren't like a huge, no one really talks about them when it comes to like the draft, right? We're all talking about the starters who throw 100 and the bats that freaking hit 40. So your process, kind of just run me through your junior year leading up to it. I know how hectic it can get. Talk about kind of like the teams that were on to you, what you're in a situation now in your career where you are comfortable and correct me if I'm wrong, but you do feel that you can go to the next level, right?
Yeah. I think, my junior year was just a new experience. Like you said, an uncomfortable experience that you had to learn about and you had to do your homework on. And at that time, I honestly didn't want to know about it. I just wanted to play ball. I wanted to perform, and I wanted my game to talk for me. Anytime that I met with the team and they ask you the same old questions, I just told them, hey, look, man, I just want to play ball. I don't care where I go. I just want to be as successful as possible this year and help myself, become the best I can be once I get drafted and once I get to pro ball. But right now, I just want to take care of my game day to day and be as successful as possible on the field, and that will give you guys enough information to understand that I'm pretty good at what I do, as a reliever. And that's, like you said, it's not something that people talk about. So it was, in that aspect, I don't think it was any different. I know probably our bigger name guys and guys, like you said, that are starters, Mike Zanino was our starting catcher. We had Brian Johnson. We had Austin Maddox. We had Nolan Fontana. Yeah, we had a lot of guys. So there was a lot of guys going through that same process, and a lot of guys had different different experiences. Like you said, everybody has a different experience, and for me, it was pretty simple. I went into every meeting and pretty much said the same thing. I want to play ball, and I just want to perform and be as best as I can be.
So, sorry for interrupting, but so this is huge for our listeners, especially if you're, like I said, a youth baseball player. In this game, especially when you move up, I just want to elaborate on kind of something that Paco's touching on is there's a lot of external distractions that can distract you from the end goal. Now, obviously, everyone's end goal should be, making it to the big leagues, but not just making it to the big leagues, but staying there, right, and being successful. And oftentimes, we see this little picture, right, and we see okay, there's these things I got to do to get there, and blah blah blah. But now I'm worried about this. I need to throw this harder. I need to throw this particular pitch. For you, dude, it was just look, do say what you want, whatever. I'm gonna take every day and just improve, right? And I think that's so important for people listening is just shut off the noise and focus solely on just improving your game, and then letting everything else just work for you. Because for me, dude, it's taken me a long time to get to this point in my career, but it's I'm focusing now on just executing pitches. And it sounds so simple, but it's funny how much that will take care of all the other things that you're worried about. So in your draft process, this is 2012, right?
Yeah.
So 2012, what teams did you kind of have a feel that were either going to take you or real high on you?
I think it was all the American League East Coast teams that were really high on me. And I think all the teams that were spring training in Florida, because they had a lot more scouts running around that area. So between Boston, the Yankees, Phillies, Tampa, I think those were the names that I heard most about, and that they were interested and they wanted to draft me if I was in the draft spot that they were looking at me at. And then once that draft date came, the team that drafted me, the Dodgers, were the team that never informed that they wanted me. It was kind of funny. I talked to a bunch of teams, and they were the one team that just I didn't even have a meeting with. So it was kind of funny how that all worked out. And
was that intentional?
Oh, as of what they said, yes. They didn't want anybody to know that they wanted me. So once I got drafted, Scott Hennessy was a scout that drafted me. He was like, "Yeah, man, the team, told me not to let you know anything, just because we didn't want people to get the word out that we wanted you or whatnot." So it was funny how it all panned out. We were sitting in my living room watching the TV, watching the draft go by and just watching and hanging out. And I was, I got drafted, and I'm like, I didn't even talk to this team.
Did they call you? Did they call you beforehand, or
no? They called me after. They called me after the fact, man. So it was funny. It was funny, and just an exciting moment in my life. But just the way that the process ended up being was kind of the same way I approached my meetings. I kind of told everybody the same thing, and I really didn't give them much different information. I just wanted to go play ball, and I think that's what the Dodgers did. They kept their mouth shut. They didn't release a lot of info, and then they took what they wanted. So
Right, dude, that's great. So you get drafted, and so talk about what round, what overall pick were you?
I was second round, 84th overall pick, and yeah, that was when it all went down,
dude. Yeah, so that's crazy. And now, okay, so you get drafted, and then it's a quick turnaround, right? So you just get done with your junior year, you just get done going to the College World Series again.
and then you get drafted, and then you sign. How long did it take for you to like sign on the dotted line and get shipped out after?
Well, once I finished the College World Series and I got back to University of Florida in Gainesville, I kind of, sat down, cleared my thoughts about everything that I had been through, those past few years.
It goes fast, dude.
It goes fast. From one day to another, moving everything out, going back to Miami, and I gave myself about 2 weeks. I wanted to go home, spend time with my family, and just kind of just hang out, let everything settle in. And 2 weeks later, I'm on a plane, suited up, going to Arizona for the first time, seeing something new. Didn't know what to expect. Didn't know who was picking me up.
Yeah.
Just didn't know anything. I was just going in, without having any type of information about what was going to happen. And I just went with it, man. I went to Arizona, signed my contract, did everything that I needed to do. Spent a few days in the complex or whatnot, and threw a bullpen. And next thing you know, I'm in Midland, Michigan. Pitching for the first time a few days later. In my first professional outing. So it was a swivel. From one day to another, from 1 week to another. Everything changes. Everything went from 0 to 100 real quick.
You blink and it's like you're in a different place.
Yeah, man.
So I want to back up a little bit. What was the first thought or idea that crossed your mind when Dodgers picked you? First thought, like right away. What was it?
West Coast.
That was it?
That was it.
In-N-Out Burger?
Yeah, man. In-N-Out Burger. No, it was just the first time I was going to ever go on the West Coast, man.
Your first time.
Yeah, just never been on the West Side, and it was just going to be a new experience, man. Something just blew my mind that I was going to be in the West Coast, and I honestly didn't think about the history, didn't think about anything. I was just going to be like, man, I'm wearing blue again. This is pretty cool because that was the color that I wore in college. So that was one excitement that I had. I didn't have to change my cleats. I didn't have to worry about those things because I was ready to go when it came to that aspect.
Yeah, dude. So I have, a lot of, and this is from an outside source. It's a lot of people say that West Coast people are just better than East Coast. Can you attest to that?
Depends on the day, man. Depends on the day,
Depends on the traffic.
Yeah, it depends on the traffic that morning. LA traffic, Miami traffic. It's all the same.
So you said already you stayed in you were in the AZL league for just like a tad, right? And then you went to West Michigan, and that's low A.
Yeah, low A.
Okay, so you go to low A. So just talk about that quick journey. So you go to low A, and how long are you there?
I was there a couple of weeks. I think I got about 5 or 6 outings in, and everything was, kind of scheduled when I was going to throw, just to get back into baseball shape since I took those 2 weeks off.
Yeah, you're right.
And everything was kind of pieced together. And when I got to low A, I think that's when I took off, man. I honestly took off. I felt like I was living off so much adrenaline, and everything was just working right, man. When it came to the game itself and pitching and doing all that, I was in tune, man, and I was on a journey to try to get the best of that second half of the year, and
what month is this at this time where you go to, if you remember, when you go to Michigan, like, do you remember kind of what month it is? So it's after the draft, so maybe like late June, early July.
Yeah, it was late June. I think it was late June that I reported. I left early July to Midland and was there a couple of weeks. And then, when I got there, I threw very, very well. I think I gave up 1 hit in those 6 innings that I was there.
Yeah.
High strikeout ratio. I was throwing the ball as good as I was throwing it in college, and
you're prepared, right?
I was prepared, man. I was prepared, just going into practice and the bunt defense that we did before the games and the cutoffs and all that. Everything came easy. It was honestly like I knew exactly where I needed to be, what I needed to do, what positionings I needed to be when it came to the bunt defenses, where I needed to throw the ball. I was just so prepared that everything came easy. Everything, I didn't have to worry about much because I was prepared. And I think that's what going to college does for you.
Yeah, that's what I was going to touch on. And another thing, kind of going off that is MLB organizations notice that, right, and they see it early as far as okay, this guy went to college. He has an understanding of the game. He has an understanding of his routine and his plan. So therefore, we don't have much restriction on him. There's no. So for me, it was like, okay, I'm 18, I'm high school. I had restrictions, right? So my first season, like, I couldn't go an outing over 5 innings. And then as far as like just advancement through the levels, it was like there was a very high like brake pedal approach on that. There's very hands-on. For you, it's like you've already shown that you can pitch at the highest level, being in the College World Series 3 years in a row. So they take into note that, and so segueing onto my next point is you're only in low A for a couple weeks, 6 innings, and then what's your next stop?
After that, I went to Double A. I think Double A was where my professional career really took a not a step back, but I really humbled myself in understanding that it wasn't as easy as it can be. Even though I was successful, I started realizing guys have approaches, and I couldn't throw. I had to make more quality pitches. I had to do a lot of things that weren't normally a case in college. In college, you could throw a ball 6 inches off the plate and people were swinging.
Yeah.
And I think that was the first time. I had my first outing, and it was I struggled. I didn't struggle through my outing, but I had to battle through that inning. And that was the first time in my life I'm like, man, I gotta be around the zone. I gotta make sure that I throw quality pitches on a consistent basis. So that was my first eye opening when it came to pro ball.
Getting outs in the zone.
Yeah.
I think it's something that we talk about how good a pitcher can be. You can go and yeah, you can have nasty stuff, but look at the best of the best, dude. How many outs they can get on pitches in the zone, I think, is a true indicator of how good your stuff actually is. So, yeah, dude, low A to Double A, that's quite a bit of a jump. So how long in Double A?
I was there. I'm gonna say about 5 weeks.
Okay, so we're probably middle of August at this time.
No, I would say probably early August, late July. I think that was when I got sent out to Dubs, and yeah, I mean that's when my Double A career started, and it was like I said, it was an eye opening, and it was a humbling experience for the first time out on the field.
So, and now we'll get to the juicy stuff. So for those of you who don't know, I'll break the ice. Paco made it to the big leagues in his first professional season, which is a rarity. You don't hear about it all too often. So let's take it back to that day, dude. And I'm sure it's a day you'll never forget, kind of just similar to that draft process day. Take us back, dude. Like, what it's got to be September, right? You're a September call up, so. You just get done playing a game. Was it early? Was it after?
Well, we actually we had that day off. It was we went out and played a round of golf. It wasn't a good one, I can tell you that. We had a great time.
We'll save that for a separate podcast.
Yeah. So we went to play around, and it was some of the coaches that went with us, and some of the players. We all wanted to just go swing the sticks a little bit. So we did that, and we were grabbing some food after we got done, and I get a phone call from our minor league coordinator, and I was just regular conversation, no big deal. I grabbed the phone, and he starts asking me how you been doing, how's Double A treating you or whatnot, just talking a little bit. And he goes, what do you got going on later on today? And I'm like, well, we're just hanging out or whatnot. And he's like, well, you need to go home and grab your stuff because you're getting shipped out. And I'm like, yeah, okay, great. Where am I going? He's like, you're going up to the big leagues, big dog. Like, do you think you're ready for that? And I was so speechless, and so my mind just went on blank for a few seconds. I was in complete shock, and I was like, yeah, okay, no problem. What do you need me to do? And man, just right now, my blood flow's going up, like everything. My body's just starting to react to just that moment, man, of happiness and shock and overwhelming, and just everything, just went to an extreme that day.
That's beautiful.
And
dude, I mean, it's just so I had your good buddy Johnny Monell on one of my lives earlier, and we really elaborated on this particular subject about how, I touched on it earlier. Every baseball player's goal is the big leagues, right? And when that happened for you, that's kind of like the moment, So you think about everything that goes into it, right? So we've talked about all the way to back to your high school career. So like everything that goes into it, right? The daily grind, dude. You talked about your routine, like establishing a routine. You talked about, the diet, the proper nutrition, just every little detail that goes into this grind on this particular day, like your, I want to say, biggest goal comes true. So you hang up, you're in shock. What's going through your mind at this point?
I was blank, man. I just wanted to call my dad, my family, and just let them know what was going on. I called my dad, and he's like, "Hey, man," I'm like, "What are you doing?" I'm kind of in tears. I'm actually getting emotional right now just thinking about it. I'm like, "Hey, man, like, just want to let you know that I'm going up to the big leagues," and just pure just happiness for my dad. My dad starts crying. Call my mom, same thing. My mom was more of she's not a crier, so she was just very excited for me, and it was just an emotional roller coaster, man. And then I went back inside. My teammates congratulated me because they already knew what was happening. They didn't tell me. They told the coaches the night before, so they wanted me to make sure that I was relaxed and not really thinking about anything or whatnot.
You would probably played a better round of golf if you knew before.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, man, it was just a great day, and then I had to rush to the place that we were staying at and pack up my stuff, man, and just get on the road. I had to take an hour drive to Atlanta to grab my flight and try to make it for the game that night.
Oh, so, yeah, that's another thing we could always talk about is the constant packing up.
The packing up and moving, man. That was the first rush that I had, and it was funny because I didn't have a car, my AA career, but I had a taxi guy that he told me, hey, whenever you need anything, just give me a call and I'll make sure to drive you to the field and back home.
Did they have Uber back then?
No, there was no Uber yet.
I didn't want to be rude with that question. You're not older.
So I had to take a taxi all the way to Atlanta from Chattanooga and just rush, man. We just rushed to the plane, get on the plane, got home, got picked up, and I didn't make it for the game that night, so they just took me to the hotel. They're like, hey, just wake up tomorrow. We just be at the field around 12. No problem. We're great.
Do you know anyone up there?
No, I didn't know anybody. Think about it, man. My career started in 2012, and I changed teams 4 times.
Right.
From rookie ball to low A, double A, and then big leagues. So, I really didn't have a connection with anybody or an understanding of a relationship with anybody. So
no former like Florida Gators up there.
Though? No, nothing along the lines at the time, and it was, just overwhelming. That night I probably didn't sleep much. From what I remember, I was, I woke up at like 7 a.m, didn't know where to go, didn't know where to eat, didn't know anything. I was in a random hotel in a new city.
You're in LA.
I'm in LA. I got and just didn't know what to do. I went downstairs, grabbed some food at the lobby, and then packed my stuff and just grabbed my bag and went to the field. Didn't know how to get into the field. Didn't know anything, man. And I was just in pure shock the whole entire time. I'm walking, as I'm driving up, I'm like telling myself, dude, you're going to be in the middle of this whole entire massive stadium, the biggest stadium in baseball. And I'm looking at it, and I'm just, overwhelmed. My mind is at 1,000 different places. Finally get to the entrance of the locker room, go down, and, I see the clubby. So I saw somebody. I didn't know who it was. I just saw somebody. I went and I'm all, hi, how are you, Paco Rodriguez? Oh, no problem. Yeah, here, let me grab your stuff. I'll take it to your locker. And
grab your stuff.
Yeah. and dude, next thing you know, I'm sitting there in my locker and I'm just looking around.
Are you the first one there?
Huh? Yeah, I was the first one there. No question about it. Every 7 o'clock game.
You're there at like 8 a.m.
Yeah, I was there at 12. Yeah, I was there at 12 on the dot. I think I got there a little early. I'm sitting there, man. I'm looking into my locker, looking at my jersey, and I'm like, is this
Got your name on
real?
it.
Like
what number were you?
75. 75.
Very Zito.
And next thing you know, I look up. One locker mate, Matt Kemp. Other locker mate, Josh Beckett. I was like, is this real right now, man? That was like the first time my heart was just like, I have been watching Josh Beckett since I was like 10 years old, man. Just watching this guy with the Marlins, absolutely shoving. And I am sitting next to him as a teammate. Like, I was mind blown. Like, there was nothing that I could do that could, like, save me from this, from this experience, man. Like, there was nothing that I could process at that time. And I'm like, this is incredible. And the first person first teammate I meet is Matt Kemp. And he's like, and I'm just sitting there, like, looking at this guy, like, trying to take a selfie of him. Like,
do they have selfies back
I don't know, man, but I was definitely trying to take a picture.
Oh, it's like that.
So, and he introduces himself, and he's like, dude, you need to smile, man. Like, you're in the show. Like,
That's what he says?
Like, you made it, man. Take a picture with your jersey. Like, just the whole entire thing. He was the first one, took a picture, got to send it to my family and stuff, and dude, I literally just sat there for another 3 hours and didn't move out of my chair.
How comfy was that chair?
Huh? It was a great chair.
Have a massage?
Oh, man. No, and at the time, it was like older stadiums. It was the setup or whatnot. But I was just like, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to, like, I was pretty shy.
Just wanted to blend in.
I know, I didn't even want to be seen at the time. Like, I just wanted to put my jersey on, do my thing. And once the manager got there, it was Donnie at the time. I got there, and he was like, hey, I want you to come into my office. Just want to congratulate you, man. You did such a great job, pitching in the minors, and you just put yourself in the best opportunity to get to this point, man. And it's not over. It's not over. This is something that you need to get, that you need to run with it, So they tell me, they're like, hey, we want you to go out to the stadium and throw off the game mound just so you kind of get a feel for this. And I'm like, all right, cool, yeah, sure, whatever you guys want me to do.
I'll do it.
What do you want me to tell you? I'm not gonna do that. Okay. So I go outside.
Everyone's there at this time, I'm guessing.
Yeah, bullpen catcher, and I think I had every single important person in the front office was watching this pen go down
on the game mound.
On the game mound with our pitching coach, bullpen coach, and Donnie. And I don't know what to do, dude. I'm like warming up, and I'm throwing from the third base line. No big deal, just playing catch. I'm feeling great. My arm doesn't feel a thing.
I can't feel my arm.
I don't feel anything, man. And I get ready. To go up to the mound, and at this point, like, I'm literally looking at the ground the most of the time. Like, I didn't want to look up. I didn't want to, like, see my surroundings just yet. Like, I wasn't ready for it. And they're like, all right, cool, man. Like, you could warm up on the mound. And I'm like, all right, cool. And, as I'm walking up, I'm still looking at the ground, and I'm still trying to, like, get my thoughts together. And when I get on that bump, I look up, bro, and I felt like the stadium was wrapped around me. I felt like I was in
everything was moving.
I thought I was in a dome, man, of how big that thing was. I look up, man, and there's 4 stacks of bleachers just running up the stadium. I'm looking up, man, and I'm like, what
like
is going on, man? Oh God, what a crazy feeling, man! And I start playing catch, and I am probably throwing as hard as I've ever thrown in my life. The ball was going nowhere where I wanted it to go.
I had to expect that.
And
it feels like a golf ball.
Oh, what, man? And I was just gripping and ripping, and I start warming up, man, and I am just like, this is for real, man. Like, that's when, that's the first initial, like, shock that I had, and I'm like, man, I am here. Like, I need to get myself mentally ready for this.
That's in.
And that's when I started to settle into the fact that I am in the show. Like, this is no joke. I get done with my pen, and they're like, hey, how'd you feel? And I'm like, honestly, man, I didn't know where the ball was going. I am still trying to, like, get myself together here, but
I
mean,
haven't
I
slept in
finished
4
my
days.
second. I didn't finish started with my balls a little up, but then I started finding myself, as the pen went on, throw through about 20-25 and, finished good. Threw the ball well, and they were like, hey, man, like, we just wanted you to do this so you could get this out of the way. We wanted you to settle yourself into this setting because we're going to need you. We're in a playoff run right now.
Yeah.
And our lefties, we some guys were hurt or whatnot, so I needed to step in and do a job. I mean, think about that. And I didn't understand it then. I understand it now because I look back and I understood what they were telling me now. So go back in, get ready for the game, and just settle in and go to BP. And as I'm shagging, as I told you, I like to shag. I'm out in right field by myself, like just taking everything in, and guys start banging. First guys, for one of the first guys that I really went into my mind was watching Bobby Abreu take batting practice.
Yeah.
I think that was the most impressive round of batting practice that I have ever seen in my life. I don't know if it was just because it was the first banger that I saw hit, but it was the perfection that guy took into his batting practice opened up my eyes of how good I needed to be.
Yeah.
It was line drives everywhere. These balls were squared up on a I don't think he missed one ball that whole entire batting practice. And it was just linear opposite field, playing the gaps, hitting him through center, hitting him through right center, never pulled the ball. He never rolled over a ball. He never pulled a ball down the line past second base, down to the line, did not pull the ball. Everything was staying through the middle of the field and the opposite way, just making sure the ball got deep. But it was just one of the most impressive things I've ever seen, and just watching this all go down was I'm in the show. I'm in the show, and I'm here, and I need to figure this out.
Yeah. So let's segue to your debut now. So you don't pitch that night, do you?
No, I don't pitch that night.
How long did it take you?
I don't know. I don't remember. I don't remember those few days where I just knew that I had to warm up in San Fran.
Okay, so it wasn't that series, though.
No, I'll take that back. We were in I got dry hump for the first time in my life.
Speak about what does dry humping mean?
Dry humping is when you warm up, but you don't come into the game.
Okay, so dry humping.
And that's what we call it. That's our word for it. But it was the funniest moment that I think in my baseball career was, they call my name and I'm like, it's a 2-1 ball game. I shouldn't be in this game right now. Are you kidding
and you're in a
me?
pennant race.
And
right?
we're in a pennant race. And I'm like, are you kidding? And this is me thinking about it now. But they call my name and I get up and I'm looking for my glove. Where the hell's my glove? Where is my glove? What? Where is it? And I'm looking around and they're like, yo, dude, it's right under your chair. I'm like, oh. And I get it, man, and I run up to that mound. And I start playing catch, and I'm like, I don't even know what's going on, bro. I'm just trying to get myself loosened up, and I forgot who was pitching that day. Got through the inning, I sat down, and that was my first initial blood rush. Just pure energy just came into my body, and I was like, here we go. What?
Can't practice that.
Cannot practice that. Cannot. And that was the first initial boom. I was just losing my mind.
So that's your first dry hump, and it was in LA?
It was in LA, and then I think we finished that series. I think it was that night that we finished that series, and we were playing in San Fran, the next few days.
Beautiful park, right?
Oh, probably, I think it's one of my favorite parks, honestly.
Yeah.
Going into a rivalry that I didn't understand,
yeah.
I didn't know about it. I didn't, it wasn't. You talk about rivalries. You grow up with rivalries against teams that you're really good, and you battle back and forth.
You think you have rivalries with them.
Yeah, you kind of grow up on that, but you don't have a clear understanding of what it is to have a rivalry in the big leagues,
at the highest level.
At the highest level, and this place was 50,000.
Oh, and this is 2012, so the Giants.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, flash forward, they win it that year, so they're not.
So we're in
bad.
it with them. Yeah, they're pretty darn good.
Right.
This is a ball club. This is a really good ball club.
So talk about that series. So
you
remember who went for them? You remember
No, man, I could not tell you any of that. I could look back at all of that, and I would probably put it together then. But I can't look back right now and tell you who was pitching, who started. I was just in a blur the whole time.
But you made your debut there.
Yeah, made my debut there. And
so what's that like? Because San Fran, those who don't know, has bullpens on the field. So as a bullpen guy, the first thing that goes through your mind is what?
Do not throw it into the middle of the game. Do not throw it into the middle of the game.
Oh, dude.
So I get my phone call. I think we're losing 3-1. 3-1, I'm pretty sure it was. And get the phone call and go down to the pen. And all I tell myself is, it's cold. I can't feel the ball right now.
Yeah, dude.
Just don't spike this thing. Just try to get yourself going. So the first throw I make, I probably throw this ball about 15 feet up in the air. Float it up to the catcher, and the catcher goes, "Really?" Throws it back. Boom, same thing, and now a little less air, until I finally got myself going, man. And it took me 3 pitches to get ready. I didn't need to warm up at that time. I had so much adrenaline going, and I was shaking. I was shaking in that bullpen. I had the fans, wearing me out, letting me know that I was a rookie, that you shouldn't be here. Just saying every possible thing to get into my head.
And they Google you, right?
They have your info. They know it all. They have everything that you need to know. They have it. And especially in San Fran, those guys do a really good job of heckling. So
that's right, man. That's NorCal guys.
So I am just
attention to detail.
Yeah, attention to detail is right. So they're saying all kinds of stuff. I'm just trying to make sure this ball goes over the plate and doesn't spike it. None of that.
So what inning is it?
It's 8th inning.
What's the score? You remember?
It was 3-1, 4-1.
You guys are up?
No, we were down.
So not an abundance amount of pressure. It's just...
It was, it was time. It was, just try to keep the game where it's at.
Yeah. You know who your guy was?
And I was going in for Belt. They told me hey, Belt's coming up. I think that's your guy. That's the guy you need to get today. And I'm like, sure. I don't even know who we were talking about at the time. I was just like, Brandon Belt, sick, lefty. I know that I'm just going to throw sliders. That's all I'm going to do. So Donnie comes out. And when Donnie comes out and just makes a signal for the lefty, I'm like, That's me.
I'm the lefty. I
am that guy. And I don't even know what I did with the ball that I warmed up with. I gave it to a pitching coach, and I, started jogging in there, and I felt like I was gonna fall from how nervous I was.
Don't fall. Don't
just get to the mound and try to settle yourself in. And I get to a mound and I come in and I'm throwing buzz. I'm just letting it eat. I'm like, if it's gonna go wrong, it's gonna go wrong. At me giving everything I got.
It's kind of a good attitude to have.
Yeah, and it was funny because Hanley's laughing at me. Hanley's playing short. And he's laughing when I get up to the mound, and my glove is shaking as I'm getting the ball from Donnie to put it in my glove. Yeah, and Hanley Ramirez goes like this and puts his glove on my chest, and he's like, "Hey, are you a little nervous?" And just starts laughing at me, and I'm like, "This guy is going right now."
You're like, "No, I'm a big guy.
I'm fine.
I do this every day.
Yeah, every day."
So, hey, real quick, talking to people in that kind of similar experience, they always say their best advice they got was not to look up.
Not to look
talk
up.
About your run. Talk about your run out there. Because San Fran is
looking into the ground. Packed. Make sure you don't trip. You're watching every step you take, but you do not look up. You don't want to look up at that time because think about it, man. You're not ready for that. That's going back to a College World Series. It was the same experience that I had then, just with twice as many people, twice as loud.
All rooting against
the rivalry, the situation, everything about it was so into detail that you try to just keep yourself to what's the most normal out on the field. Think about it. The ground's not going to change. There's nothing that you can look at that you haven't seen before until when you look at grass. So that's kind of my thought process. I just keep yourself going, look at the field. You've seen a mound before. You've seen all that. You keep yourself as comfortable as possible until you have to look up into the catcher and see the stands and just try to keep your eyesight into just that. That's all I try to do. And it took me a while. It took me, I think, that whole entire year was that. So, but going back to my first at bat against the big leaguer it was Brandon Belt. I don't remember what signs they gave me. If I had man on second, I don't remember any of it. I just knew that I was going in, and I was like, I got to get this guy out. There's no way around it. I got to get him out. Shaking through my delivery, through everything. I just felt like everything was just nerve-wracking, and I threw I think I threw 3 pitches, 1 ball, 1 strike, and then got a ground ball to first. And, of course, the first thing that comes into my mind when I finish that, I'm like, wow, this is how my career is going to start. Because in college, that was one of the things that we did not like doing. It was like, why do we got to take 1,000,000 reps of this to just
getting
over. And that's all I heard in my head when I got it through that ball. I got done, and I'm like, wow, I just got my first out. And I was going to throw the ball into the stands. And I was just,
there's no 2 outs for sure.
This is my ball. I get my first out. Put it in my pocket.
Oh, you did keep the ball?
Yeah, and I got to keep that ball.
That's smart.
But yeah, man, that first experience, man, was probably the most nerve-wracking experience I've ever had, man. And it was crazy.
So you said something like really, really important. So obviously we've talked a lot on this particular episode about the uncomfortableness that the game can bring sometimes, right? And I'm sure a lot of people that are listening are wanting to get to where you've gotten, right? And so then I'm sure the question comes up about like how can you essentially simplify things in those particular outings, in those circumstances when there is a lot of pressure. It's a high stressful situation or whatever it may be. You talk about fans, you talk about like a lot of people there, you talk about high stakes, you talk about rivalries, whatever it is. So what would you say? You touched on about looking at the ground. The grass isn't going to change. You're 60 feet 6 inches no matter where you are. Baseball essentially is the same game.
Same game.
So what would you say? Elaborate a little bit more about people seeking to get comfortable in those situations. Get comfortable being uncomfortable is really the end goal. So kind of just elaborate on some certain things that you said to yourself in that first season and still do now.
Accept the fact that you're in an uncomfortable situation. Accept it, learn from it, understand it, feel it, want it. I think it's a matter of owning up to it, man. That's it. For me, I like those situations. I think I started, as I pitched more and more and got more comfortable with playing in the big leagues, I started to understand that those were the moments that I wanted to be in those games, man. Like, and I think any bullpen guy will tell you the same. Like, coming in those situations where you got to get one of your teammates out of a tough situation, you're coming in with 1 out, man on second and third, and you want to get out of that inning with a strikeout and a ground ball to get out of that inning. And I think that's one of my favorite feelings in baseball. Getting yourself out of that situation where it's going to change the game one way or another. Yeah. It's for me, it's one of my favorite feelings, and I think I owned up to that. I accepted the fact that I wanted to be in those situations, and I strived off of thinking, if my teammate gets in trouble here, I'm probably in this game facing these few guys, and that's the way that I approached it. And the preparation and the mental aspect is what really kept me being successful in those moments, because I wanted it. I wanted to be in it.
And then and just going along with that, there's a lot of it that has to do. I mean, for me personally, and you can elaborate if this is something you do too, is wanting those situations and then seeing them play out in your mind. So for you, knowing that you're a lefty, knowing that, okay, I probably have lefties, seeing it even the night before you go to bed, like seeing it, okay, I got belt today, I'm going to see the sequence. I'm going to see the people in the stands. I'm going to put myself in that position to start practicing, what I'm going to do when I get there. And then seeing yourself succeed in those situations. And then when you actually get in those certain situations, there's a little bit of comfort because you've already played it out in your mind. Dude, we can talk about all day. And, I mean, you and I have a good conversation. The outfield is just about the attention to detail about the mental side of the game, and it's so true about half the game is physical, or 90% of the game is physical and 50% mental, or is it the opposite of that? I don't remember, but it's so true, man. It's like you got to see these things play out before you actually do them. So yeah, man. I mean, like that's great stuff. But so jumping ahead is just real quick. I know we're kind of running out of time, but talk about your just career up there, and we've hit on your first year. Talk about that next year. How many years did you spend in the big leagues with the Dodgers, and then what was the next process? And
well, that following, so we're gonna go to 2013. I go into spring training trying to win a job. I think that was for me going into spring training. I was ready, man. I was mentally ready. I knew that I was good enough to be there. Now I was maximizing my ability, and I think that was the biggest thing for me, going out there and showing that I'm here to stay. And that was my main goal, is making sure that I got through that spring training and absolutely, put myself in the best situation to make their decision hard to not put me on the team, and that's the only thing that I could control. So I went into spring training. I think I gave up. I had really good outings. I don't think I had one bad outing my whole spring. I threw the ball very, very well, and it was putting them in that position, putting the coaches in the position to really make that decision, to put me, make me be a part of that team, and make me be a piece of that team to be successful. Yeah. So that was my main goal, is just to get through spring training, dominate, and put myself in the best situation to make it out of camp.
So obviously you've been in the big leagues at this point, but like you said earlier, you're still trying to find ways to better your craft, right? Because there's no limit to what you can do, right? And you got to kind of believe that mentally. So I think that's huge. It's kind of just elaborate like a little bit on the things. Maybe even if it's just the littlest things, like what would you take out of each day? Like, okay, I'm going to get better at this today, or what was kind of some of the goals going into that next year, already having been to the highest level?
For me, was finding a routine that was efficient and making sure that I did it on a regular basis. Depending on what I had around my surroundings. Because different ballparks have different weight rooms. Making sure that I prepared myself as best as possible to be successful that day. I think that was the process, between my warming up, doing my foam roll, getting on the bike, activating my abs, doing my arm care, making sure that I got some quiet time, things that I needed on a personal note to make sure that I could put myself in the best situation to be successful that day. Because, as a bullpen guy, you got to be ready to go every day. And that's the hardest part of the grind, is the preparation, the routine that you establish yourself to be successful. And it's hard to be able to put your mind to it. You think about it, man.
It's every day.
It's every day. And we've been here in Puerto Rico grinding every single day. And think about it, some days it's harder than others to get yourself together on that mental side and wanting to grind and wanting to do those things. And I think that's only natural for everybody, Yeah. So I think that was the biggest thing when I was in the big leagues that year. I just wanted to be successful every day. And if I wasn't successful, what's the positive that I could take? What's the negative that I could take? And how do I better that the next day?
Yeah, so something that I try to tell everyone when there's a lot of questions, obviously, with the youth about how, the how factor of how did you get to that point, and how are you so successful, whatever. And I try to preach on the simple fact of the foundation of the why you play the game, and the understanding and just the absolute love and joy you get from playing this game. Because, dude, you touched on it about how it's every day, dude. It's every day grinding, trying to figure out new ways to improve. And then, like I said earlier, dude, it's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows. It's not always going to be successes. There's going to be a lot of nights or a lot of games where you do frickin' get hit. You don't get the job done. But at the end of the day, dude, you got to turn around, especially you being a guy that's potentially going to be in there every day, having to have that short-term memory and going out the next night and succeeding. So, just to talk about kind of that aspect of the game, dude, and understanding okay, I am going to fail, but I'm not going to get used to that failing, and then talk about the understanding of I got to go out the next night and freaking get the job done, dude. No matter your last outing, if it'd been 2/3 of an inning, 4 runs, talk about that quick turnaround that you could potentially have.
I think that's something that comes down to your grit and gut, man. For me, anytime that I had a bad outing or I didn't get my job done that day, I was so determined that next day to make sure that I came out and had a good outing because I needed to bounce back. I needed to get myself back on that positive mindset of being successful and trying to do it on a consistent basis, man. And that's what it comes down to. When you do have that bad outing, which is going to happen, it's going to happen a lot throughout your career. It's a matter of bouncing back and being able to respond right then and there and making sure that you put yourself in that tough situation again and get the job done.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. That's just truth, man. I mean, it's something it's hard to do, man. It's not easy to do it every single day. That's why I like to just talk about how you got to have a desire and a straight will to just get better, dude. And I mean, even guys like you. I mean, you played with Kershaw, dude. You saw his routine. You saw it early on about how he just separates himself. He's the best regular season pitcher right now, debatable generational pitcher. But talk about the way he goes about his business, dude, and talk about ways he still fights to get better at his craft, even though he's already one of the game's best.
I think that was one of the first things I took into my learning experience when it came to being around best of the best, man. I think between him, Greinke, Josh Beckett, bullpen guys at that time, I think it was learning from Brandon League. He was very successful for a bunch of years in the big leagues. And when we talk about Clayton Kershaw, he not only separated himself off the field, but on the field as well, in the sense of his work ethic, man. I'm the type of person I like to get to the field early and, just settle myself in, just work my way into my day. And Kershaw was getting done with his workout when I was coming in 2 hours before we needed to be there.
And this is the best of the best.
This is the best of the best. And this guy was sweating before anybody was even there. Before coaches, before our cooks, before the clubbies. That guy was there early as can be, grinding and just putting himself and just putting himself on another level. For me, it was just like, man, I like to grind, I like to work, I want to get better at everything. But I'm like, how do you keep up with a guy like that? How is it? It was incredible for me to watch him work and just be good at his craft and better his craft and try to maximize himself on every angle of the game and what it took to be that good in the game.
It's not an accident.
It's not an accident, man. It's not. It's not an accident. And you go down the line of all professional athletes, and the best of the best just grind, man. Just do homework on every little possible thing to better themselves, and that's what defines a guy, man. Honestly, that's what makes those guys as good as they are. They, like I always say, once you get to professional baseball, you are given a talent. Is what you do with it, and those guys are maximizing their talent and understanding their bodies, understanding everything that they are doing on a day-to-day basis to maximize their ability and be really good at it. And I think that's something that I took from those guys, man. And I added it to my arsenal, and wanted to take a piece from every single one of those guys that are so successful and make it a part of me.
Yeah, dude. I think it's huge just to kind of elaborate on being a sponge, man. And I talk about that a lot. And I talked about with Monel the other day about how as athletes we try to get in positions where we surround ourselves with other individuals who are going to bring out the best in us. And obviously for you, dude, it was easy at the time because you are around a lot of athletes that are the best of the best. But for those of you who are listening, I mean, just from saying that, you should kind of get an understanding of kind of how to approach that. Surround yourself with other individuals who are going to bring the best about you, and that goes in with competition, just one-on-one competition or whatever. Working out, just the whole daily life, dude. I'm sure for you, just seeing Kershaw 2 hours early, that gave you an extra desire to be like, I want to see if I can
compete on his level, right? Like, I'm going to show up maybe a little bit earlier, stay a little bit later, and really hone into this routine. But I think that's so huge, dude. So we're going to wrap it up a little bit here now. So talk about your career now. You've had how many surgeries?
I've had 2 surgeries in my arm. I had bone spurs first, and then Tommy John.
What year?
2015, September 15. I had Tommy John surgery.
This is after the Dodgers traded you?
Yeah, the Dodgers. I had bone spurs with the Dodgers. Got traded right after I got that surgery. Came out to the Braves, and then started my throwing program after the bone spurs, and blew out after that. And just started the process of going through Tommy John and working myself to get back to where I need to be.
Dude, that's because I had bone spurs too, man. It's no joke, dude. Anytime you go under the knife, it's not a joke. But and then so you're with Atlanta for how many years?
For a year and a spring training.
Okay. And then you went to
the Orioles for the second half of the 2017.
So this is interesting, dude. Like, so now you're in a process. So you had that like high amount of success early in your career. You got to the big leagues early, and now you're in a process of essentially like finding that comfort on the mound again, right? Anytime, like I just said, like anytime you go under the knife, like it's a process of getting back to that comfort of throwing max intensity. And so now you're in that process of, for lack of a better term, like finding yourself again. Mm-hmm. And so now, like we said, we're in Puerto Rico, we're grinding in winter ball. This is your first winter ball experience, right?
Yeah.
So now you're in a process of trying to find, you're a free agent?
Yeah.
And you're trying to find a team, obviously. So what does the future look for you? I know you can't determine, what teams are kind of going to be on your tail or whatever, but just talk about kind of that desire for you to get back to that highest level.
I think this is where you get challenged as a human being, man. This is the challenge that you're going to take, and if you love something enough, you're going to do everything you need to do to get back to where you once were, and not only get back to where you once were, but where you want to get to, and at the end of the day, I want to better myself once I get back to that level and be as good as I can be. And I think that's my main goal, is just trying to find myself in that aspect. Like you said, you just got to find yourself as a baseball player again and find that mentality again and be able to go out there and do it every single day.
Yeah, dude, and that stems again from that freaking love for the game, man, that passion. And it's funny, dude, because I was in that same process where I had elbow surgery, and like during that process, it really it goes to show like how much you love it, when you're away from it and you're not able to do it, like how much you love it. And for you being at the highest level, like how much you actually loved it and how much you are working your tail off, striving to get back there, man. I think there's just so much truth into the foundation of the why, why the 5 a.m. workouts or whatever. It's because you have a burning desire to freaking get better, dude, and a desire to be the best that you physically and mentally can be. Yeah, dude, so it's funny because when I started these, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do like a short podcast, like 45 minutes maybe. But there's just a lot of good stuff, man. And we could probably go for another hour or 2 hours.
We could talk all day, bro.
Oh, dude, and we freaking do, man. But we'll wrap it up, dude. I appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you spending an hour and 30 just talking. Any last words for those that are listening?
Just define yourself as a human being and figure out what you want to do. It doesn't matter what you do in life. If you put your mind to it and you love it and you want to be a part of it for a long time, you have to dedicate yourself and you have to strive to be the best you can be at that certain thing, and I think that's my message, and that's something that I have learned as time has gone by. And if you want it, just keep working for it, man, and keep grinding and keep learning and keep doing everything you need to do. And if you do that, at the end of the day, once your career is over or once you get to a certain point in your life when you want to try something new, at least you can say that you gave it your best, and that's all you could ask from yourself.
Bro, truth bombs, man. Appreciate your time, Pac. Maybe down the road I'll have you on next time, dude. But let the listeners know where they can like reach you, dude, as far as like social media, or you got like social media.
Yeah, my social media is just Paco Rodriguez for Instagram. That's pretty much all I use, honestly. I'm very, I have Facebook, and I rarely ever use that. So if anybody wants any questions or anything along the lines, just please send me a message on Instagram, and I'll be more than happy to answer some questions and talk a little bit, man, because at the end of the day, it's something that I enjoy, and I want people to get better in that aspect. If it comes to baseball, I'm always happy to talk about, the mindset and the things that go into being successful. And, so any little things, man, just shoot me a message, and I'll be more happy to answer.
Nice, dude. Well, hey, dude, I appreciate your time. And until next time, we'll now enjoy just being Puerto Rican freaking Winter League champions.
No big deal. It's another day at the ballpark.
All right, dude. Talk to you later. See you. All right, guys, you just listened to a very successful podcast with my boy Paco Rodriguez. Hope you gained a lot of information from that. I know I did just by talking to him again, and we've been talking almost every day this past month here. But like I said, a lot of valuable information there, and the whole reasoning of this podcast is just trying to get that knowledge out there, and trying to just get people as much information as possible, and leave it up to them as far as applying that. So hope you all enjoyed the podcast. Do me a favor and spread the word. Follow my social media at Robby Row 12. That's my Instagram. Twitter is Robby Row _12. But thank you all for listening, and thank you all for potentially spreading the word. Don't know if you will or will not, but appreciate your all time, and have a blessed day. Talk to you later.